Chapter 13. Jerry had counted the days leading up to the big car show at Carlisle. Bart had turned the garage over to Clem for the day so they could hit the show on Thursday. Clem asked his cousin to come over to help him cover all the activities. They rolled down the Pennsylvania Turnpike at a comfortable 67 miles an hour. The idea of going to the show early was to nail any good stuff that would surely be scooped up by the Friday and Saturday crowds. Uncle Bart had seen the masses backed up in long lines at the Carlisle exit, so he got off the superhighway at Gettysburg Pike. The idea was to avoid the backup at Route 11. They drove south for 8 miles and turned right on 74 to go across to Carlisle from the east. It was a short run on the main street until making a right onto West Street at Dickinson College. They followed west up until they started seeing streets that were letters, A Street, B Street. When they got to I Street, they turned toward the fairground. A friendly man offered a place to park for $3, and Bart pulled in and stopped in his backyard. They shot themselves with sunblock, put on their backpacks, and began marching towards Gate 2. Jerry thought a house on the corner was interesting because of its many homemade birdhouses. After crossing a busy street with classic cars lined up, they were soon entering the grounds. Uncle Bart paid the $5 interest fees for both of them. Jerry's head spun around at the sights. There was a gas pump man, a radio man, a jack man, several tire dealers, and multiple tables full of car parts, license plates, and hood ornaments. "Man, I've never seen so much stuff. This is fantastic," said the boy breathlessly. "Yeah, they say if you can't find it here, it doesn't exist. I can see why. Man, what a bunch of stuff." Uncle Bart steered him to the north field. The strategy was to take on that area, followed by a small circle area behind the hill next to the turnpike. After that, they would work their way up the hill and then down the left side through the display of antique cars to a gate on the corner where they could sit down for an early lunch. There was a vendor there who sold cold sodas. That way they would not have to carry sodas and ice bricks. As they moved along, they bought small things like tools that could be carried in their packs. If they bought something that would be cumbersome to carry, they could pay for it and backtrack at the end. When this happened, Bart took out a folded-up piece of paper and described what it was and some kind of landmark like a giant tire display or a tall flag along with the row to make it easy to find. Things that they were thinking about buying also went on the list with similar landmarks. Doing this was somewhat risky because the item might be sold by the time they got back for it. The general rule was, if you want it, you better buy it. But sometimes you just needed to think about it, let it simmer, figure out how it could be used or if something else would work better. Often the problem was price. Too high. How likely would they find it cheaper? It was a clear day. The stuff was out. People were buying the stuff. This was America at its best, excited men pursuing their passions. Men with huge smiles on their faces strode along, carrying ancient fender or a vintage distributor. Bart and Jerry stopped at a stand that had many boxes of shop manuals. "This is a good place to look. The man has low overhead. If a man has a big truck with the back converted into a bookstore, his prices will be higher," Uncle Bart observed. Okay. "Help you?" asked the man. "Yeah," answered Jerry. "We need a shop manual for a 63 Chevy too." "Let's see. I had a 63 around here." He looked through several boxes, and he lifted up a thin book. "Here you go, $5. Bart looked at it and appeared puzzled. "Oh, I see what this is. It says supplement. That is why it's so thin." "Yeah," the man offered. The 62 and 63 were almost the same. The full-size shop manual will say Chevy 2, 1962. Then the company made some changes in 1963, so this is what covers the 1963. "Do you also have the 62 book?" asked Uncle Bart. "No, I don't, but there are plenty of them around. I'm sure you will find one here." "Okay, hand the man $5. This book is in good condition. We will find the other 62 and you will be set." They wandered down several rows. The place was so big they had to eye up the items on both sides as they went along, bouncing back and forth as stuff caught their eyes. Hey, what is this? Called the boy as they entered a spot filled with Nova taillight lenses and headlight cowls. Looks like your kind of place, remarked his uncle. There were long, neat rows of wipers, hubcaps, armrests, and gas caps. You're the Nova man, joked Bart as he approached the seller, who was perched on a folding chair at the rear of the lot. I am the Nova man, the man responded. I have a '63 ragtop, and we're looking for a complete back seat and side panels, the boy told him. That I don't have. Actually, I have not seen that for a long time. But do you need the cover that snaps over when the top is down? You have the top cover, blurted Uncle Bart. You have it here? Yes, I hung it over my truck door so no one walked on it, the man said as he stood up and stepped over to the black canvas cover. Man, that is nice, yelled Jerry as he held it in his hands. How much do you want for it? 22. It's almost new. Yeah, 22 will do it. That is more than I was planning to pay, Jerry murmured sadly. Is that the best you can do? The boy continued. I'm afraid it is. Somebody's coming through here this week, and they will be happy to pay 22 for it. Well, Jerry, I think you should take it, Uncle Bart injected. You're thinking maybe 12, and you might find one someday, but you will spend $5 for gas and more of your time. Sometimes you can save money by paying more now, and this one's in fine shape. Grab it. Okay, said the boy reluctantly. Here's your 22, and here's your cover. Bart helped to pack the cover carefully in Jerry's bag, and after they had gone a few steps, he explained. Sometimes there's more to consider than just the current price. You have to calculate in future expenses. And don't respond too excitedly when you see something you want. Go cool. You can even ask the price of something you do not care about. Why ask about something I don't want? Asked the boy. When you don't go for it, you have taught him you are tight with your wallet. Some guys even pick up something they don't want, and when they hear the price, they drop it and act like they're getting sick. That sets the tone for your position on high prices. I never thought of the back and forth over price working that way. I'll try to stay cool when I see something desirable. Now this is interesting, said Bart, picking up a mast light from an old boot. How much for the light? An older man with red suspenders answered. $10. Not bad, but hold it. The lens has a gash. Yeah, they go for a lot, but you would have to find a lens, the man acknowledged. What do you think? Asked the teenager. These can go for $50 if they are complete, but finding a glass lens in good shape might take a lot of luck. And I am picturing how much time I would spend at flea markets and at car shows looking for it. I am the kind of person who hates things that are not complete. I am thinking I will let it go. I know how I am and the amount of time I would spend on it. You have to look at the time factor, Uncle Bart related in a resigned tone. The two guys wandered up and down the rows. They stopped at interesting tables and ignored others. Now this might be something I could use, Uncle Bart said as he lifted the handle of a 3-ton floor jack. That would be handy to run out to the drive to change tires, agreed the boy. However, I can see some problems. A couple of the metal casters are frozen. Bart turned the pump handle and gauged the lift valve. Stand on the cup so I can see if it will rise. Jerry stepped onto the disc and balanced on one leg. Bart pumped the handle, but the lift stayed down. They strode over to a man who was in deep conversation with another gentleman about a car he had owned in 1948. They waited for the seller to turn to them. Finally, the conclusion of the story was reached, and the man looked over and asked, "What can I do for you?" "What do you want for the jack?" Bart asked, motioning to the device. "Let's see, the jack, $20. "It's not lifting. I put the buoy on it. It would not go up," explained Bart. "Well, what did you want to pay?" asked the man. Bart looked around at it and pretended to study it. "It's going to take some work. I would say 10. "Well, let me tell what I can do for you. I know it needs some things. I'll sell it for 12. "I think that will work," responded Uncle Bart as he reached in his pocket and pulled out his money wad. He counted out 2 ones and a 10. "Can you hold it for me? We'll be back later." "Sure. I'll tow it behind the truck so no one else gets interested in it." Jerry and his uncle strolled down the next row. "That was a good deal. I can loosen those metal casters and their pivot bearing with some oil and working them back and forth. The jack was a name brand and they are very expensive. There's a plug on the top of the cylinder. We'll open that and fill it with hydraulic jack oil, and it should work fine. I'm taking a slight chance, but I think I can make it work. In a worst case, I would have to get a seal kit. It will be very useful around the garage, Bart stated as he wrote down the location on his paper. It looks solid, commented Jerry. Ha! Laughed the uncle as he picked up a chrome Henry J. emblem off a table. I can't believe it, a Henry J. What is a Henry J? It was a car built after World War II. It was very cheaply made to sell for a lower price than any other car. That was its selling point, low price. There were several companies that focused on cheap price, explained Bart. But like a lot of things, you get what you pay for. I never heard of them. How long do they make them? About 3 years. The Kaiser Company tried to improve them, but the customers wanted more dazzle. The first ones did not even have a trunk lid. No lid? How do you get into your spare or your tools? The upright part of the back seat would fold down. Then you could crawl back in and get the spare. If you had groceries, you could eat them in the parking lot, Bart continued. It took several seconds for Jerry to figure out his uncle was kidding. I suppose that would be one way to do it. Yeah, they were the Yugo of their time. I had a friend, Charlie, whose grandfather had one. Yeah? His grandfather passed away, and it sat behind the house for years. Then his grandmother passed on. Charlie's parents wanted it out of there, so we got it. What did you do with it? Did you fix it up? More or less, Bart chuckled. We got a hold of a V8 Chevrolet engine and replaced the original engine. I don't know how we rigged up the drive shaft, but we did it. We took it over the 422 bypass, which was under construction. There was nobody around on a Sunday. Did it work? Now keep in mind, we were young and stupid. Things that appeared to be a great idea often turned out to be catastrophes. Charlie revved up the motor and let out the clutch. The tire started to burn, and we could feel it starting to move out. The seat ripped out of the floor, and we ended up in a heap in the backseat area. Jerry laughed at the image of the two teenage clowns and their predicament. So that was the end of the ride. We took it to a scrapyard, and that was the end of the Henry J. Okay, we're here at the stadium bleachers. We will buy some Cokes, and we'll have the rest of our lunch, and I want to rest my legs. I don't know how many miles we walked, but I figured it was over 10. After getting their drinks, they climbed the steps and sat down in the seats. I noticed you always carry your money in a folded bunch in your left pocket instead of a wallet, said Jerry as he bit into a ham sandwich. Yeah, I was taught that by my father. The idea is, if you lose your wallet and there's no money in it, a finder might send it to you. But if it has money in it, they will take the money and throw it away. Then you have to get new license and cards. I see what you're saying. And once you get used to it, you can count out what you need quickly. The way you do it is this. The first layer on the bottom is your ones. Then the next layer is your 20s. Above that is your 10s. You do not want the 10s touching your ones because you could be fanning out ones and not notice a 10 and think it was a 1. The 20s look different than ones, and you won't get them mixed up. The 5s go on top. Then you fold the wad and carry it in your pocket. You don't put anything else in your left front pocket. Your keys and change egg go in your right front pocket. That way, when you're reaching for keys, you don't have dollar bills coming out by accident and blowing around on the ground. Very good, observed the boy. I'm going to start that system. And I always buy a coin egg that says Quick Coin inside. They last forever, and you can see what you're looking for when you have it out and open. Plus, if you have a hole in your pocket, you will not lose your coins. Man, that is sleek. Yeah, they sell them down at the Spring City Pharmacy. After their break, they continued on their sweep of the rows. Another vendor had a table full of shop manuals strewn about. Jerry spotted one marked 1962 Chevy 2. This looks like it, he called to his uncle. I believe that's the one. Does it have a price on it? Let's see. There's a sign on the table that manuals are $8. There are a few thumbprints on it, but that won't affect your using it. Give the man 8. By around 4 o'clock, they were finishing up the final row. They passed the fuel pump man who was wearing his trademark destroyed straw cowboy hat. Do you see why I wanted to get the mountain taken care of first? Uncle Bart asked when they were standing at the foot of the long drive that went straight up. Yeah, I don't think I could walk up there at this point, answered his tired nephew. Bart took out his list. They had to pick up the big jack. There was a note about an old boat steering wheel that had appealed to him, but he decided to let it go due to price and location. There were some welding rods he would pick up on the way. He had seen plenty of them on their rounds, so he knew they would not be all sold out. They would have been heavy to carry around. "What do you think about the spring Carlisle?" he asked his nephew. "Awesome. It was totally awesome.